In continuing with my series on looking at teams going forward towards the draft, there are teams that are out. If they're above the underline mark, it means I've got them done, which means the Metro is done. So I looked through which teams I had finished, and the Metro's finished. For teams that missed the playoffs, I've got a way to go in the Atlantic. I haven't done any of the Central, but we're here with Dallas, and I've done 2 in the Pacific. I've got Arizona and Edmonton left to do in the Pacific. But let's talk about Dallas, because, you know, Dallas is a fun one to look at. The problem with Dallas this year, and I felt this way the whole year, I had everybody was picking them to somehow become this great, basically do almost what Nashville did this year and going first. There were a lot of people who were picking them to finish second or third, or maybe even first because they added Ben Bishop. And while I agreed that adding Bishop was big, I still saw problems with this roster, and we'll get into that. Jordy Ben is signed to this team for a $9.5 million cap hit until 2024-2025, which means the rest of his career. Spezza, $7.5 million until next year, and we'll talk about a Spezza rumor that's out there, and I'm going to shoot that down pretty quick. Radulov, $6.25 million until 2021-2022. Tyler Seguin, $5.75 million. He's up next summer. Martin Hansel, $4.75 million for 2 more years. Radek Faksa, $2.25 million for the next 2 years. He's a bargain. Antoine Roussel is a UFA. I think he comes back. I'd be very surprised if he goes anywhere else. Richie, $1.75 million. He's a restricted free agent with arbitration rights next summer. Tyler Pitlick, $1 million for the next 2 years. Huge bargain there for what he does. Devon Shore's restricted free agent with arbitration rights. So is Matthias Janmark and Jamel Smith. Smith I like for his energy. Janmark I like for his energy and talent. And Shore, we'll see how much more upside there is with Shore. But I would expect all of them to get re-signed. Mathot, $4.9 million. He's a UFA next summer. Klingberg signed to a $4.25 million contract for 4 more years. And honestly, that's a bargain for what he does. Dan Hamhuis may have played his last shift as a Dallas Star. He's a UFA this summer. Essa Lindell, $2.2 million until next summer when he's a restricted free agent with arbitration rights. Julius Honka, $863K until next summer when he's a restricted free agent. Patterson's UFA this summer. I don't know if he comes back or not. If he does, it'll be with a raise, and I'd be nervous about that. Johns is a restricted free agent with arbitration rights. I'm fine with him coming back as a number 7 guy. In net, Lettinen's contract's up. He may come back next year as backup. I wouldn't be entirely surprised. Bishop, $4.91 million until 2022-2023 when he be a UFA. Can Bishop stay healthy? In terms of where they're at, they have $22.6 million in cap space for next season right now if the cap is at $80 million. Their prospects list, they've got Heiskanen, who of course is going to be expected to jump into this lineup. May very well just take Hammer's spot. Dickinson is an RFA this summer. I would expect him to get a spot in the roster next year. Hintz will have his shot at the roster. Ely played some games for Dallas this year. I'd expect him to get into some more. Gurianov, I don't know what Gurianov is. I just know that if I didn't put him on the board, there'd be Dallas Stars fans saying, what about Dennis Gurianov? His numbers in the AHL are not inspiring, and for a first-round draft pick, I feel like Gurianov's underachieved. And Nichushkin is the big name. Nichushkin's the big name who could come right back into this, and he's gonna be a star now, and I don't buy it. When Nichushkin went back to Russia, I wasn't overly upset about it, but he's been gone for a couple years, and prevailing wisdom seems to be that he's coming back to join this team again, and I don't know that he's going to help. Nichushkin to me is a 20-goal scorer. He's decent when he's motivated, but he does tend to mope when he doesn't get the ice time he feels he has deserved or earned, whether he's earned it or not. And I'm not a huge fan of his work ethic, and that's just me. But now that Ken Hitchcock's gone, the idea is that he'll probably be back. And without a Hitchcock or a Lindy Ruff, if Dallas brings in a guy who's more of a player's coach, I guess Hitchcock qualifies as a player's coach too. But with Hitchcock and Ruff both out of the picture, whatever Dallas does for coach, I'd laugh if they brought in Vigneault, because Vigneault's kind of infamous in multiple places for not giving the kids the time, which I disagree. I think Lindy Ruff handled it fine. I don't think Nichushkin was doing anything to warrant getting more ice time. Goalie's the big question mark I have. So you've got Bishop. Lettinen's UFA this summer. Does he come back? Does he come back for less money? Because Ottinger, who they drafted in the first round, Ottinger's numbers took a step back this year in the NCAA. I don't look at Ottinger and say, oh yeah, he'll be ready to go as a backup as soon as possible. I haven't even looked into his NCAA status. I assume there's at least one more year, but I don't think they can bank on him as of yet. Now I've got red asterisks here for a reason. Spezza, there's rumors that, and this came out of a Vancouver reporter, but now I'm getting asked about it, so I'm going to say this. Spezza is not going to Vancouver. Jason Spezza at this point in the game is greatly diminished in his talents. We can talk about how Ken Hitchcock may have underplayed him, but to be honest, he didn't. That 8 goals and 26 points, that's indicative of where his play's at right now. And for $7.5 million, like if Dallas can find somebody to take Spezza, I think they're gonna do that and run it. I think they'll retain salary to get rid of him. But Spezza at this point is not a scoring line guy. Hansel to me is kind of a mistake signing. That's almost $5 million under the cap that would be better spent almost anywhere else. I didn't like that signing at the time, and I don't really like the makeup of this team, because at a time when the NHL's getting younger and faster, Dallas seems to be somewhat resisting that in certain spots of their lineup. Methot on the blue line was a great ad at the time, but I would think he'll be on the block this summer. If somebody picks up Carlson and they still have cap space, watch them to try to make a pitch for Methot. So if Carlson moves, there's going to be somebody who goes, you know what? This really helps our blue line. What if we got Methot as a partner to Erik Karlsson? Or what about this? What if Ottawa went to Karlsson and said, look, we'll bring back Methot, we'll get you back your partner on the blue line, and we're going to try to fix this. Does that help to sway Karlsson and have him say, all right, I'll stick around? Methot was injured a lot this year. Had trouble getting back into the swing of things, I think, with some of those injuries. Did not have a fantastic season. But there really weren't very many Dallas Stars that did. Ben had a good season. Seguin had a very strong season for goals. Radulov was fantastic. But this annual pilgrimage out of the playoffs is discouraging. And I don't see anything on this roster right now that I say, yes, this team's ready to break through. Heiskanen is that wild card. But there needs to be some more. They need Honka to step up. Absolutely. And if Foxa had a little more scoring upside, I think I'd feel really good about him being a number 2 center, but I don't right now. Because he has a tremendous work ethic. I love Radek Foxa, but I just don't see that scoring side of things for him. Hopefully it does come through, but I'll be very interested to see what they do at the draft. If they somehow won the draft lottery this year, everybody will claim it's rigged because they got Heiskanen last year. But we'll see what they do. They've got all their own draft picks. They didn't pick up a bunch of draft picks at the trade deadline because they were still in the running at the trade deadline. I think if Jim Nill had known how things were going to turn out, Nill wouldn't have done anything. And I think that's my issue with Nill. Jim Nill as a GM, he's kind of tried to always throw money at an issue. So when Letton wasn't necessarily very good, he's like, all right, we'll just bring in Niemi, and lots of money for Niemi. And now lots of money for Bishop, and he's had $10 million plus on goaltending for years. And you just can't run a team that way unless one of those goalies is Carey Price. But they didn't have that benefit here. So I guess we'll see what happens with Dallas. I'm mildly optimistic about Dallas. If you're a Stars fan, let me know how you feel in the comment section below. Where does this team go from here? Does Vino work as a coaching candidate? Because the guys who are just out of work, we know they're just going to get recycled, right? So let me know your thoughts on that. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.